For this episode, I'm going to do things a little bit differently and just sort of freewheel it with my thoughts. Yesterday had a session with two clients who are a couple, and something that we discussed in it was felt just too important to not jump on here today and record this for y'all. And that is, if you are in a open or polyamorous relationship and you feel uncomfortable, stressed, frustrated, nervous, overwhelmed, or any other quote unquote bad feeling, that is okay. And the goal is not to stop feeling those things. That's one of the things that I share with my clients. And in this episode, we're going to dig into the why that is important to remember and what to do instead. But before we go too much further, if you don't already know me, hey there, my name is Brian G. Murphy. I am an author and certified relationship coach, helping you build right fit relationships and sizzling sex lives without shame, should, or scarcities. And you are listening to the Permission to Desire podcast. Okay, so I feel like bad feelings, uncomfortable feelings get a bit of a bad rap. And in the open relationship, polyamory, non-monogamy world, I think there can sometimes be a pressure to be okay with it. If you've decided to explore it or consider it, or you're in the process of opening up, if you haven't just completely shut it down and said absolutely not, then it seems like your only other option sometimes is to be okay. And so if you ever feel insecure or anxious or nervous or afraid or uncomfortable or overwhelmed in the midst of that, you might think that your work and the job that you have to do is to get yourself to a place of not feeling those things anymore. And in fact, in this coaching session, we had to unpack that assumption because he thought that through the process of coaching that the ways that he'd been feeling were bad and wrong, and he had to learn to not feel that way anymore. Now, of course, if you're in a relationship, we don't want you to spend a lot of time, hardly any time at all, really, feeling uncomfortable feelings. The goal in any relationship should be to feel good, whatever that means for you, for the majority of the time. But that doesn't mean that you're going to be immune from hard or uncomfortable feelings. I have been with my husband now for over 17 years. We've been open / polyamorous for almost all of that. And occasionally, I still get twinges of jealousy or frustration. Sometimes it's some sort of inadequacy about myself that I'm feeling. Sometimes it's an area that I'm noticing I'm wanting to be different in our relationship, and seeing him reflect that in other relationships makes me realize that it's missing in ours. And sometimes it's just the logistics of being not monogamous imposes things upon my life. We have to coordinate schedules, or right now we're living in a one bedroom, and so if we want to have someone over just for ourselves, the other person has to not be there. So we have to figure out the other person's work schedule or social schedules. And if someone's running early or running late, can I come home? Is the apartment available? Or are you going to be available for dinner later tonight? There's just sometimes logistical considerations that impinge upon my life. And I'm human. Sometimes I get frustrated, right? But that's not unique to non-monogamy, right? Sometimes your partner gets stuck at the office and has to work later than they expected because their boss calls them in at the last minute for an important meeting, or something that they thought was finished gets sent back from the client as needing a bunch of revisions, or any number of things. Sometimes there's just bad traffic, right? And you just get stuck. I know I live in New York City. One time it took me 2 hours to get home on a bus ride that normally took 35 minutes because there was a shooting of a police officer, and the bridge basically got shut down and I was stuck there, right? Sometimes life happens and things happen that cause us to feel frustrated. And because of the cultural myths around romance and relationships and sex, impingements upon us and our time feel more fraught if it's my partner is on a date with someone else than it might feel if it was my partner is at chorus practice, or where my partner is at his running club, or my partner is at the gay game night that I don't want to be part of because I don't really like games. Something about those two experiences, we add more meaning onto it when it's from an open / polyamorous relationship. So that's one thing to keep in mind. But also sometimes just not even related to anything like that at all. I'm just sort of we got in our disagreement about how to load the dishwasher, or we're working on a project, a home improvement project, and our tensions get raised and we don't act always in the best possible ways. Sometimes we just feel uncomfortable patience wears thin, we're snippy, we're short. I'm sure that you are not 100% perfect all the time. I can certainly admit that. And your partner is not going to be like 100% perfect all the time. That's not the goal. The goal is to how do you respond well in those moments. And so if you are in an open relationship or a polyamorous relationship, or you're considering that, or you're exploring that, or maybe something about the way that things have been open for you in the past is starting to shift in your open or polyamorous relationship, and you find yourself feeling scared, frustrated, annoyed, whatever it might be, the first thing to do is to like take a beat and be like, okay, I'm feeling this way. You don't actually have to judge yourself for being insecure about your partner going out for a hookup, or lonely because you're home alone and you don't know what to do, or like horny because like you haven't gotten off today and she's with some other guy, right? Just feel the feelings. You don't make it any better by adding on a level of like shame or shoulds. I shouldn't feel this way. Now you're just like feeling bad about feeling bad. So you like 2x'd your uncomfortable feelings. The first step is to just like own it and admit it. And it can be helpful to sometimes give voice to that feeling of frustration or overwhelm or uncomfortableness to your partner. And now here is an important way to approach that, especially in the context of non-monogamy. You really want to make sure that you're clear about why you're sharing what you're sharing. So it's not like I don't know, feeling jealous or frustrated or whatever it might be. So you stop seeing that person, don't go out on that hookup today, change your plans, etc. Go back to monogamy to like make me feel comfortable, right? It's just like, hey, you're my partner, you're my person. You're this person that I care about. I want to share something with you to like let you into the experience of who I am and what I'm going through right now. Even if I don't have to change anything right now, I just want to like name the thing that is in the room with us. Like, yes, this is what's happening. And maybe you can brainstorm some solutions on how you might make those feelings feel better in yourself, by yourself, collaborating with your partner, finding friends or family to lean upon. There's lots of different tactics that we can get into to figure out like, well, where do we go from here? How do we make the feelings of jealousy, insecurity, overwhelm, et cetera, be less? How do you move through them in a productive and positive way, in a way that brings you closer together? But the way that you do that is through it, rather than trying to shove them down, ignore them, pretend they don't exist, make them go away as quickly as possible. You probably like never can fully resolve your uncomfortable feelings in general, but certainly especially related to non-monogamy or relationships in general, if like you don't acknowledge them, if you don't bring them out into the light, if they aren't seen and understood and validated. Not necessarily validated for being like whatever the story you're telling yourself about what those feelings mean being validated, but like they're valid in that like you in fact do feel that way. And ideally the person that you're having these feelings about can say, oh, if I was in your shoes and I had the information that you had and I thought the way that you thought, and like my mind was telling me XYZ about what that meant, yeah, I can see how you would feel that way. Like that's going to be a huge breakthrough. It is sometimes hard to do that. One of the things I often do in relationship coaching, one of like the key benefits of working with a relationship coach is that I'm able to, in the midst of something, say like, hold on, like slow down, like let's not get to the trying to fix it or justify it or explaining it away, or the other partner sort of having a tit for tat, getting into like I didn't do it like that. That's not what I said. You're misrepresenting me. And they sort of argue about what happened rather than moving into fixing, like just like sitting with the feelings themselves to really understand one another. I'm often slowing down the conversation so that we can really like dig into what's going on there. And underneath big uncomfortable feelings that come up in relationships of all sorts, jealousy, anger, insecurity, there is oftentimes shame, fear. These are sort of like top level feelings. And if you can get curious, these big scary feelings will often tell you even more about what's going on, what you're really truly feeling at the heart of it. And that will then guide you to potential solutions that are actually meaningful and impactful. Because if the approach to uncomfortable feelings is that we just try to remove the thing that immediately made us uncomfortable, the fear of that is like always still lurking, right? So it might be like hearing about your partner hooking up with someone else like makes you uncomfortable. And so just don't ever tell me about it ever again. Okay, well, like I don't tell you about that, but are you then worrying? Is he out on a hookup? He said he was going for a run. What if he actually went to go for a hookup? That sort of underlying, whatever it was that is causing that sort of insecurity, uncertainty, overwhelm in you is like, if that's still in there. And so we can use those feelings to point out like, oh, when you tell me about a hookup, it brings up these feelings. If we just try to make those feelings go away, we lose the opportunity to get clear about what's going on underneath those feelings. If we can get more precise in our feelings, use more specific types of feelings, that is a helpful step. Another helpful step is to figure out the story that you're telling yourself about either what those feelings mean or about the story that you're telling yourself about what your partner said, did, thought, the way that he looked, something that you observed that then you create a story in your head and then that leads you to these feelings. What are you scared of happening? What are you anticipating might happen? What do you think might happen? What has happened similarly in the past? All of that gives us some information to work with. So then you can, with yourself and or with your partner or partners and or with friends and family, collaborate to find ways to address those core underlying issues and concerns. You're not running away from your feelings. If anything, you want to like run toward the feeling and say, you have something to teach me. What can I learn from you? It can be really scary. I get it. It can be really scary to say, I'm insecure, I'm frustrated, I'm angry. One of the most important practices is to just be able to sit together with each other and not try to solve it. This is what I told my clients, right? Like sometimes you're going to be like frustrated at each other, or like one person's going to be mad and one person is going to be frustrated, one person's going to be jealous and insecure, one person's going to be overwhelmed, right? Like sometimes you're two humans who love each other and take up a lot of physical and metaphoric space in each other's lives. You are sometimes going to bump into each other. Can you sit when he or she or they are uncomfortable and just like let that be okay without rushing to try to fix, quote unquote, their feelings, but to just sit with whatever that uncomfortable feeling is with them and say like, I see you in the fullness of the muck. And let me try to understand that better. It's especially important also, like when you're both a little bit activated. Can the two of you sit together and say, we're both feeling uncomfortable things. We might even, in this moment, want different things, have different outlooks, different priorities in this particular moment. Can we sit together in this discomfort and not flinch and not run away and not pull away? That is, if you are able to do that, God, it's like strengthening a muscle, right? It's like, if you're able to like hold a plank, right? The longer you hold a plank, the stronger your muscles get, and like eventually it gives out. But like the next time you go back, maybe you can hold it for a little bit longer. And you don't do enough planks, you can have like a really strong core. Or if you're trying to, hold a dumbbell out at shoulder height, right? Similarly, if you're into meditation at all, sometimes people think that the goal of meditation is to like never think anything at all. But actually, all the sort of, not all, but many of the positive benefits that come from meditation actually come in the moment where your mind starts to wander. And then when you catch it and you bring your focus back. It's that sort of the moment of recognition that like actually is where the strengthening happens. And so similarly, like in your relationship, when your relationship is like really going well, like yes, of course, all the positive, fun, happy moments and experiences, like all of that like feeds into and builds your positive relationship. And also in the times where there is stress and strain, if you can sit together in that and say like, I love you, I'm here for you, we're going to figure this out together, you end up coming out on the other side of that stronger. Now, in healthy relationships, you feel good and happy and positive with each other the overwhelming majority of the time. The Gottman Institute actually found that even when couples are in conflict, healthy couples in healthy relationships report that in their moments of conflict, like 4 out of 5 of the times, they have like their positive experiences. And so we want to be able to make you have positive experiences of conflict rather than feeling like battered down and beaten up at the end of it. You're going to feel how you're going to feel sometimes for whatever reason in all sorts of relationships. That's not the problem. And if your partner's feeling all those sorts of like uncomfortable ways, it's not necessarily an indictment upon you, and it's not necessarily your job to quote unquote fix them. It's your job to sit with them in the muck and to really understand them. All of this like takes time. It takes practice. I'm like, I don't know, a decade into really actively working on learning these skills, and probably like 6 years into working with clients to help them figure out these skills. So I'm still always learning and growing. So if you need some help in making sense of the complicated, sometimes conflicting feelings you have about non-monogamy or polyamory or your open relationship, or you're just like your relationship in general, if you could use someone to help you mediate your conversations, to slow down, to look for the things that are not being unsaid, that are being left unsaid, to get at the heart of what's really uncomfortable, to make a plan so that you guys can move through your relationship challenges right now in a way that brings you closer together. It makes you stronger than ever. That is what one of the things that coaching can do for you. If you would like to learn more and apply, you can go to thisisbgm.com/apply to apply for private relationship coaching. As of this recording, I've got about 1 or 2 spots opening up later this month. If you hear this later in time, all the information about like if there are spots available will be on the website over there. I love love. That's, I think, one of the reasons why I got into this work is that I love love, and I especially love queer and non-monogamous folks. And I want us to have just like the most thriving relationships. And it is hard enough to navigate a relationship in general. It's hard enough to navigate the times when it's tough and there's some conflict that comes up. You go on Instagram and you scroll and you see all of these like happy couples and their anniversary pics and their like lovey-dovey vacations. And like, I do that, right? Like I just had an anniversary last month. I posted some anniversary pictures. I like to share photos of when I'm on vacation. And also sometimes my partner or partners and I bump up against each other. Sometimes we frustrate each other. Sometimes we get insecure or angry or jealous or any number of uncomfortable things. And that doesn't mean I've done something wrong if I feel those ways. It doesn't mean my partners have done something wrong if something they have done causes me to feel an uncomfortable feeling. It means that we're human. And how then can we move through those and get at the heart of what we want and need in our relationship, so that we can build a relationship that is right for us and that we feel safe and secure and connected in almost all of the time. That's my hope and my dream and my vision for you. Again, if you would like some support in building a relationship like that, head on over to thisisbgm.com/apply. I would love to have a chat with you to see if coaching might be right for you and how I could support you in that. That's all for now. I'm Brian G. Murphy, and this has been your Permission to Desire.